Welcome everyone to our opening reception today. And we're super excited because this is our first time being here in person since the pandemic hit. And we're really glad that you all are here to be our witness to this moment. And so when we start our talks today, we will start with our artist member, Mimi Abers, talking about her sculpture.
Okay, I'm Mimi Abers. I'm having a sculpture show at Gallery Route 1. The pieces are made from clay and kiln cast glass. The title is called There's Danger Everywhere in the Time of the Pandemic. When the pandemic started, or just before, a couple months, I started making a couple of these pieces, maybe that one and this one. And I knew there was danger in the world anyway. But then when the pandemic hit, I realized these pieces were about that. And so I made some more of them. This was the first one. They are made of, as I said, of glass. I make a mold out of clay first and then cast it in plaster silica so it can go into my kiln. I put glass pieces into the piece, and in some cases, like this one, which is actually pâte de verre, which is people like Lalique did the same kinds of things for making vases back in the 19th century in France. And in that case, the tiny pieces of glass I mix with gum arabic and put into a wet mold. And so the back is completely hollow, and it gives it a kind of lacy look from the back. Most of them, it's solid glass, and I have learned how to completely fill the mold just right. And so then, and in many cases like this one, I also make a base for it out of, in fact, in most cases, out of the same kind of glass. Then this piece was made, as I said, just before the pandemic, and it has to do with danger in the water because a lot of refugees were dying in the water. But it says, I've titled it Homage to Hokusai since it looks a little bit like his wave. And over here, this is a clay piece. It's called Double Danger. I make all my own glazes, and sometimes they come out exactly like I want, and other times they're not, so I have to refire them. That's something you can't do with the glass because it just doesn't refire well. We'll go do this piece. This piece is called Shattered in Place. I had a lot of trouble getting materials, like my usual clay that was very strong. And so this piece actually fell over in the kiln, and that's why I had to make a new base for it. And Shattered in Place seemed like the right title. Over here, I have a couple of sheltering in place pieces. This one's called Sheltering in Place and the other's Sheltered. A lot of times I don't really know what a piece is going to be called till later. I just have a feeling about something. I think of sculpture as an expression of whatever I'm feeling at the moment. Other times I know exactly what I'm making. I don't think I knew in this case. And this piece is called Struggling Up. It's also a clay piece. This piece is called Safe Harbor because it's got little crevices for you to hide in. Like a lot of us, I went hiking a lot in the woods, and because I always feel good around trees, especially when things are going badly. And so this is based on tea trees around Lake Merritt that are very twisted, and so I call it Respite. And it's clay and glass. And this piece is called Omega, or the beginning of the end, because Omega is the last letter in the alphabet in Greece. I didn't know at the time that we would be going through, for variants, the whole Greek alphabet. And Omicron is only the 15th piece. If we get to the end, it will be the beginning of the end. And this piece is called Venturing Out, something we did carefully in the beginning, the first year of the pandemic. And this piece is called Persevering. And next is Staying Flexible. It was just something we had to learn to do. But I also practiced yoga, have yet to go back into a studio. And this piece is called Self-Encounter. It's made up of a lot of different colors of glass. And it's one of those that's completely different from the other side. So if I come to be sure to look on all sides of the pieces if you come to the gallery. And this piece is called Exhausted, although my daughter thought it should be called Recovering. So you can do whatever you want to. This piece is one of those that I glazed twice to get this interesting texture on here. I make, as I said, all my own glazes, and that's part of the fun of them. Pull out. There we go. One of the things I did to try, I always have been a swimmer, so it was very important for me to get swimming, which for a while you couldn't swim at all in the gallery. I mean, during the pandemic. This piece is called Why I Swim, and it has a lot of stress in it because when you finally could, when some of the pools were open, I'd have to, the minute they were online to make a reservation, I'd have to rush to get it, and many times I couldn't get one. So swimming was both a relief from the pandemic, but it was also very stressful. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bruce Mitchell here at Gallery 1 with my show in the Annex space, and I'm delighted to be able to show some new work. The title of my show is Mixing It Up, and as I think Mimi talked about earlier, with the whole sequestering that so many of us had to do during the pandemic when it was at its height, I spent a lot of time doing some new things, recollecting, working with some older pieces and some evolutions from those older pieces. And this first one here is titled Crosstown Traffic. I love playing with humor as well as because it just adds another dimension, and I think people feel another connection that's different from just the piece itself, kind of adds to its personality. And this piece and another one we'll see in a moment, called Mirage, were made from pieces of accent woods that I was using when I started making these kimonos that we see here on either side of us, starting 7 years ago. And my wife Nancy and I have always loved textiles, and kimonos are one of those things we're very passionate about. They're very classic, simple and very graceful shapes and proportions of them. And so I was basically doing an homage to that form because the kimono has been around for 1,200 years, and it's one of the really highest expressions of textile art on the planet. And so using these wonderful pieces of wood that I've been saving, making them into boards that were all the same thickness so that I could compose these in kind of a painter's approach to using dark and light values to create a more three-dimensional quality to these basically two-dimensional pieces. And the woods are just, they're all reclaimed from down trees. and I've used them, as you can see in the video, in a way that's like book matching, where you have identical open faces on opposite sides of each other. And it's a classic furniture maker's technique using highly figured wood, and it really works in these pieces. And again, the kimonos, I began doing them about 6 or 7 years ago. And these two new pieces we just saw, Crosstown Traffic and Mirage here. What I really love about Mirage, and this is the first in this new series of wall pieces, is that I've been making vessels, salad bowls, carved sculptural vessels, for many decades, and I wanted to create something that was kind of creating an illusion of space and something familiar, yet it's sort of broken up. But you can see the form there, and you know that it's that dark, basically stripes that you see is creating that silhouette. But then you have these foreground pieces in front of it that makes it look like it's behind a window, like old Venetian blinds that you're looking through at night through someone's window. And again, the play of dark and light that I use, I'm doing that to create that a greater sense of three-dimensionality. And they're moving to these two sculptural pieces. This one here is called Pillow Talk, which is kind of comes from Japanese love poems. And what I've been doing for a long time is making standing sculptures like this out of a single piece of wood. But this is a complete departure from that whole form, in that there are 3 pieces, but they're all connected with a steel rod, which allows the top 2 elements to be rotated like 360 degrees in any direction. And I can just do that for the benefit of the film here, so that if you want to see a whole different personality of it, you can change just like that. And being a fairly heavy piece, it gives it some flexibility in terms of looking at it. You don't have to rotate the whole thing just to get a different view if you want. And so this Pillow Talk is a brand new piece, just a month old. And now this last piece here is called Threescape, and it has echoes of stones that have been trapped in an avalanche or a rock slide or something, where they're just compressed together and sort of holding each other in suspension. Many years ago, went to see the Devil's Postpile in Mammoth, near Mammoth Mountain, and a lot of those hexagonal stone columns just sort of echoed in my brain when I was beginning to compose this piece. And this is made from red gum eucalyptus, one of my favorite woods. I love that Vin Rosé color to it. It's very unusual. And this is a series that I started probably 15 years ago, and it's one that I think I'd like to do on a larger scale at some point. Because I really enjoy experimenting. I mean, the whole process of discovery for me, is to have a surprise as I'm making something. Removing material changes the personality, and it will suggest other possibilities for shaping it. And so repeating myself is just one of the things that's just not in my blood. My brain's just wired for wild experimentation and doing lots of different things. But this has been a real treat, because my wife and I were talking just yesterday about how, even though this is a very small space, and there's a number of pieces in here, it still doesn't feel cramped. And I think everything is just proportioned right so that you can really get a good look at it. And So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to this being up for another few weeks for people to come and see it.
Hello, my name is Jenny Lynn Hall. I'm the exhibition coordinator for the Gallery Route 1's Visiting Artist Program. This program is housed in a gallery called Project Space in the gallery, and was started after the Exxon Valdez oil spill, with the idea of giving artists space to examine themes like the environment, social justice, and immigration. We accept proposals exclusively on these themes. The artist that we're showing now is Ashley Garr, and she fits into the environmental section of our mission statement. She works in well, a lot of drawing, but these are video installations, and her work really reminds me of the earliest environmentalists, Walt Whitman, John Muir, who found a real deep connection with nature and our interconnectedness through concerted observation. And although she maybe unwittingly have been inspired by these thinkers, her work is a completely contemporary take on it in its realization. She can talk to you a lot more about her technique, but we thank you for your attention and for your support of Gallery Route 1.
Hi, my name is Ashley Garr, and I created the video installation Vitality, and it consists of 2 burned redwood trees, visuals and sounds, as well as animated shapes. And I'll talk a little bit about the process. At the beginning of this project, the lockdown just started, and I was an MFA student at Mills College, and I lost access to all of my art supplies at the time, which was painting and drawing supplies mainly. So I struggled a lot in the beginning, but I decided to use it as an opportunity to expand on my creative process. So I started spending a lot of time outside. I started a journal, a field journal, where I wrote everything I noticed, did sketches. And then in addition to that, I modified a microphone with a stethoscope to record the sound from trees. And that's what you'll hear in the videos. And it's mainly water going up the tree trunk, and you may also hear some sounds from the environment surrounding the trees. And everything I did, the journals, the sketches, and the sound, it all allowed me to notice links. And one of the most prominent links was a repeating shape, which is the shape of seeds. So I included those in the video, not only because I kept seeing them, but also because seeds create life, and I was attempting to tap into the life force within these trees that had been scarred. So through this process, I'd like to offer viewers a perspective they haven't experienced before that may open a window of hope and possibilities for us and the Earth's future. Thank you. So each video is one particular tree, and both trees were right next to each other. So the process was the same with both of them. And the animation developed from my sketches. As I listened to the sound, I started seeing images, moving images in my head, so I sketched them out. And because they were moving, I decided to attempt to animate them. And there were several phases of that. I had gone out into the woods and put my sketches on the trees, and even used green screens, and eventually evolved into these videos here, what you see with the shadows.
I'm very glad that you're here watching this today. These are 3 really strong, beautiful shows. And I just am very grateful for your interest and support in the gallery. Our gallery does quite a bit of outreach into the community. That's why we're a nonprofit, and we welcome your donations to support our various programs. One is our Artists in the Schools program that was started in 1993. And now we are in all the schools in Shoreline School District, up from Bodega Bay and Tamales down here to Point Reyes and Inverness. And our Latino Photography Project, which last year made a beautiful book, and this next year they're going to be making textbooks to help people learn how to speak English. And our environmental program, which has been absolutely relevant since the early 1990s, and our immigration program, as well as social justice. And we have a new program called Artist Exchange, which has different artists each month engaging in a dialogue about their art, and our fellowship program. And we're really excited about all these different things that we do, in addition to the beautiful exhibitions that we hold here by our member artists who help support our outreach endeavors. So I do hope that you will support the gallery and make a donation to us. You can go to our website, which is galleryroute1.org, and the one is O-N-E, and make a donation, or you can send us a check or come in and make a cash deposit. Another thing that is really good for people who are over 70 and a half and they have an IRA is that they can make their distribution from the IRA be a charitable donation, and then those funds don't count as income. So I wish you all the best for the holiday season, and do hope you come in to visit the gallery and see the wonderful shows that we have here currently. Thank you.